Well, let's dig into the news now. And in our first story, Member of Parliament for Ofinso South, Isaac Yao Opoku, has vowed to resist any attempt by the Health Ministry to shortchange constituents in the construction of a 40-bed district hospital to improve access to healthcare. Health Minister Kweku Agyeman-Manu, during the consideration of a €38 million facility for the construction of some 5 district hospitals, requested to alter an error in the list of areas earmarked for the construction. He observed that the proposed construction of a hospital at Ofinso South should rather be at Ofinso North, arguing constituents of Ofinso South already have a health facility. But MP for Ofinso South, Isaac Opoku, who was incensed over the minister's claim, accused the minister of bias, insisting the facility there is a private one.
Mr. Speaker, if you look at the motion, we are actually approving motion 23 for construction of equipment of 40-bed district hospitals as Ayesuyado, Ifijuase, and Ofinso. Mr. Speaker, the Ofinso one should be Ofinso North. We already have a child hospital at Ofinso, and this is going to add on to another hospital in Ofinso again, when Ofinso North hasn't got a hospital. So there is an omission there. That should be Ofinso North. Therefore, consequentially, all the records reflect Ofinso North instead of just Ofinso, so that we locate this at Akumadan instead of Ofinso again. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. So now the question is,
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, member for Ofinso South.
I have an issue. Mr. Speaker, originally this project is for Ofinso. I asked the minister, and the minister said we have a hospital at Ofinso South, St. Patrick Hospital. Mr. Speaker, St. Patrick Hospital is not a government hospital. Originally, this project is for Ofinso South. Mr. Speaker, we will not agree. It is not fair. Why are we treating Ofinso South like that? We won't agree. Mr. Speaker, we are not agreeing. They just called me from Ofinso that they are taking the project from Ofinso South. Mr. Speaker, we have gotten the land and everything. We are not agreeing. Mr. Speaker, it will not happen.
Well, still in Parliament, government is working to ensure regular water supply across the country. That's according to Deputy Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, Amidu Isahaku Chinia, who's blaming current water crisis on the pollution of water bodies by human activities. He read a statement on the floor of the House to commemorate World Water Day.
Some coastal aquifers have also been found with some levels of salinity. Groundwater may be hidden from the surface of the earth, but it is not shielded from the impact of human activities. Pollution from domestic and industrial activities poses a great risk to the quality of groundwater. This occurs when there is discharge of contaminants on the surface of the earth, which directly percolate into the groundwater sources. Pollution can occur whether these activities are close or isolated from the groundwater sources. This is one of the major challenges we need to tackle head-on with partners and stakeholders. The need to protect our groundwater sources is even more important because of the current level of pollution of our surface water sources. Mr. Speaker, currently several parts of Accra suffer poor water supply due to high levels of pollution caused by human activities. The pollution affects the stability of the raw water and makes it very expensive to treat the raw water. Large volumes of this raw water are also lost in the process, and consequently water supply to homes become hampered. It is becoming increasingly expensive to maintain the equipment in our water treatment plant because of the high stability of our raw water. In addition, treatment plants are not spared the brunt of power fluctuations, and this affects the regularity of water supply to households in the city. The phase 2 of the Pond Water Expansion Project, when completed, will serve additional 1.3 million people in the greater Accra metropolitan area. This will go a long way to resolve the challenges water consumers are facing in Accra. The Ministry is working hard to ensure that enough water is produced for distribution to consumers in Accra when the phase 2 of the Pond Water Expansion is completed.
Well, meanwhile, Chief Manager of the Ghana Water Company Limited, Serena Kwachaminta, says private consumers in the Upper West region owe the company more than 2 million Ghana cedis. She's outlined strategies, including the use of mobile money and the opening of more vending points for consumers to pay up. She spoke in WA to mark World Water Day.
World Water Day since 1993 has been celebrated each year to raise awareness of the 2 billion people in the world who are without access to safe water. In the Upper West region, the day was marked by the Upper West region's office of the Ghana Water Company Limited with the commissioning of the One North District Office at Walsombo. Ghana Water Company Limited Chief Manager Serena Kwachaminta noted that the opening of the office will not only reduce congestion at the main office, but will ease the burden of their customers in seeking for their services as well. She further noted that water is one of the most important natural resources on earth for sustaining the human life.
If you look at the water resources we have, 99% is the oceans and glaciers. Fresh water is just 1%, and out of the 1% of the fresh water, 90% is groundwater. So by our actions and inactions, we should not pollute our groundwater, we should not produce even our surface water. Our surface water is gradually dwindling, so we should make sure we protect our groundwater.
She however considered that despite the importance of the community, there are several unhealthy practices which increases the cost of production and thereby poses as a threat to having access to groundwater. She therefore calls for behavioral change and the need to ensure that water used is paid for in order for the company to meet the increasing consumer demand.
A lot of people take water for granted. Oh, water is a natural gift from God, water is a resource. But then, before the water comes to you, there are various processes that involve the use of energy, the use of chemicals to transmit the water to you. So, indeed, it's very important that when you get this service, you pay for it in order for us to expand and also make our payment obligations to our energy producers, our chemical suppliers, and also the pipes we even get to lay. In order to get the pipes to your home, we make payments for them.
Well, from access to water and non-payment, let's go to the Ashanti region, where about 600 households at Nobewam in the Dwabing municipality have received digitalized potable water. The residents of the farming community have in the past struggled to access potable water for daily domestic chores. Safe Water Network, a non-profit organization, has constructed a mechanized water station in the community where customers pay a nominal amount for financial sustainability of the water system. There is more in this report.
The Nobewam community houses over 26,909 residents, with majority of them engaged in farming and petty trading. Residents in this community have in the past been challenged with accessibility to safe and adequate water supply. Francis Cassava, who has lived in the community for the past 20 years, helps her sister Alyssa J to sell garri and beans in the community. They used to wake up early to join long queues to fetch water for their chores.
Cooking has been made easy because of the access to a water system. We really had difficulty in washing our clothes, but not anymore.
It was all joy at the commissioning of a digitalized water station in the community by the Safe Water Network. In 2020, the not-for-profit organization launched a project to construct water stations in response to the protracted water crisis in rural communities in Ghana. Charles Nimakon is the country director of Safe Water Network.
It's a growing community. It has some form of economic activities, but they didn't have water. The few standpipes that are here have broken down. So it was a ripe community for our system. And we discussed with them and they accepted it and they are very eager to have it. And it's become one of our successful projects.
The optimized piped connection stations are designed with a distribution network that extends throughout the community to make the cost of connections to the home equitable. Customers in the community only have to follow a mobile money transaction prompt to purchase any quantity of water. Richard, a farmer, together with some residents in this community, is grateful as they do not have to trek for hours for water.
He said for a year or two, getting access to water was a challenge, but this water system has improved our lives.
For JoyNews, Emmanuel Bright-Kweku reporting.
Now in our next story, an associate professor at the Department of Computer Engineering at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Professor Emmanuel Kofi Akowah, is calling for greater collaboration among universities in the implementation of the government's digitalization agenda. His comments come on the back of the current government's aggressive rollout of several digital innovations within the economy. There is more in this report.
The ruling NPP government has touted its implementation of a number of programs to create a digitally accessible public sector for economic growth. Ghana's transitioning to a digitalized world is gradually seeing the limelight as the government continues to implement policies tailored towards its materialization. However, some of its initiatives have suffered some challenges with their implementation. Touching on this, Professor Akowah said the government's collaboration with universities through investment in R&D will ensure the development of new technologies and innovative application of existing solutions to efficiently solve Ghana's peculiar problems.
Government really wants to raise revenue. So we could look at how we can use these things to ensure that even if people don't want to comply, using existing data that we have in the system, okay, how are we able to mine that data to be able to profile individuals efficiently? And that is the use of universities and research centers. So one would be thinking that, okay, with all these innovations that we are doing, it's good because it creates that aura of that kind of spirit that everybody is affected. But somebody would expect that maybe we will put 1%, 5%, 2%, something down and give it to people in that area, i.e. universities, to really start thinking ahead as far as our problems are concerned so that we don't get there before we start looking for solutions. You see, so I'll give you an example. Revenue is a big problem to us. Naturally, we don't want to declare what we earn. We see that a lot of people outside the revenue basket and all that. And you know that government has been doing so much. Now we are linking our NIA cards to our banks, our phones and all that. But before we got here, could we have, funded a study that, is there a way that all the traces of data that everybody is leaving in the system can be, stitched together to say that, to build, let's say, your tax profile so that we can tax you efficiently instead of having one flat tax to everyone. So I'll give you a simple example. We say that the informal sector is very difficult to tax them, isn't it? But right now, with the rate at which government is going, there are so many things which will be possible in future. So your mobile money is now going to be linked to your NIA card. Your bank account will be linked to NIA card. Everything will be linked to NIA card. So assuming we have an efficient system that can take these data and stitch them together, even if I don't want to pay taxes and I collect things cash, if I take money cash, I'll have to spend. If I want to spend, I'll give it to somebody. If I give it to somebody, a person will have to put it in a bank. If you don't want to put it in a bank and put it on Momo, it will still be traced. Everything traces to you. So at the end of the day, when I start spending and doing all sorts of transactions, is it possible for we to have a system that will build a profile of your income expenditure pattern, even using your communication and other data, packets that we leave, breadcrumbs that we leave in the system, to be able to identify that you are in this income bracket, and so this is how we want to tax you.
Now, as the population in Greater Kumasi continues to grow, Waste collection and management is becoming a challenge. Currently, there are little resources for the effective collection and management of solid waste. However, with a €2.5 million EU-funded project, the sanitation system of Kumasi will see a facelift. Shareholders are positive the project will offer jobs for entrepreneurs in the green economy.
The Holistic Reinforcement for Sustainable Development project, HOREST, is to improve public service delivery in waste management within the Kumasi metropolis. A strategic urban waste solid management plan will be implemented. New green jobs will be created to execute the waste management plan. Sampine is mayor of Kumasi metropolis.
We're going to train people per the program that we're having today. We're going to train people who are going to be a part of it, to be skilled and make sure that they get involved. We're also doing that in collaboration, apart from the EU that is funding the project 97%. We're looking at a percentage from the private sector to also be part of it. And we want to, after the 30 months, we wish to enlarge it and make it something broad for us all.
The HOREST project will lead to the creation of a sustainable entrepreneurship school. Investment, the promotion of seed capital, and capacity building will contribute to making this program a reality. Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah wants the project, if successful, to be extended to other adjoining towns.
I'll make sure on a monthly basis I'll visit the project office, the project site, to make sure that it's going on smoothly. And if there are challenges, I join them to solve those challenges. Not that we are waiting, then at the end of the project, we will see that the project wasn't successful, and as a result of that, maybe there's not going to be any sustainability or continuation of that particular project.
The project will be implemented within 30 months. A territorial management group made up of representatives of local and national stakeholders will oversee the project. Ichard Razali is ambassador and head of the European Union delegation.
Cities around the world, in Africa, even in Europe, are faced with growing challenges linked to urbanization, fast urbanization rates. So there are commonalities when it comes to waste management, water, sanitation, transportation, housing, employment, and we are supporting best practices exchanges, training and capacity building for the city officials of Kumasi in Spain, in Cape Verde, in order to reinforce the ability of Kumasi to address those challenges.
The Holistic Reinforcement for Sustainable Development project is a Europe aid program involving 3 local administrations, with the KMA as a beneficiary and the Chamber of Prayer in Cape Verde as the third collaborating partner. Mona Lisa Frempon reporting.
Let's talk firefighting now. And the Ghana National Fire Service has announced that a forensic lab that is under construction is almost complete at its headquarters. According to the service, this would aid investigations to unravel the causes of fires and also help outline measures to prevent unwarranted fire outbreaks. The Deputy Chief Fire Officer, Tony Gomez, announced this at the end-of-year party of the Volta Regional Fire Service held in Ho.
The end-of-year party, which was attended by personnel from across the Volta region, was themed Wusugu, literally meaning shake the stress off. The Volta Regional Fire Service Commander, Assistant Fire Officer 1, Amaibo Ayim, outlined policies being adopted to ensure fire safety in his jurisdiction.
The command has noted that some gas filling stations are not engaging the presence of fire officers during the discharge of gas. We want to caution all gas fire stations and their operators to ensure that fire service are present to ensure fire safety whenever they are discharging gas, and be discharged in the night. It should be discharged between the hours of 6 a.m. and 5 p.m. Any gas filling station seen violating this basic rule will be dealt with. We intend to launch a program in partnership with the district assemblies to entreat every household to have at least one fire extinguisher and one fire detector. This will help reduce domestic fires, because if you look on our data, domestic fires continue to dominate the number of incidents we attend every year. Let me use this opportunity to inform you that the command responded to 287 incidents last year.
The Deputy Chief Fire Officer, Tony Gomez, who delivered a speech on behalf of the Chief Fire Officer, highlighted some new developments in the service.
May I also indicate that the Chief Officer wants you to be aware of a forensic laboratory building that has almost been completed at the national headquarters to aid us in scientific fire investigations. You know, normally we go to courts and we are not able to defend whatever happened at the fire scene because it's not based on any scientific evidence. So with this forensic lab, it's going to depend on the science. Management is also proposing to establish a search and rescue diving unit. This one that takes subsurface water rescue activities. You know, at times we do have problems when it comes to rescue of people trapped in the marine areas. We do have the marine police. Fire service is coming out with something that would, I think, even overtake the marine police.
Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News. Oh.
That's how we wrap the AM news for this morning. Up next, we have the news review. Do stay. Thank you for staying with us. It's time now for the news review. We're digging into all the papers, but let me first say a very good morning to Dr. Kwame Asah-Sante, Director for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Doc, Yadase. Yadase Bebre. Morning. Can you hear me, Doc?
Yes.
Right.
Loud and clear.
Great. I didn't catch your sound a bit earlier. I hope you're well this wet Wednesday morning.
Very perfect. Perfect.
Great.
Yes.
Let's get into some of the crucial matters that we're going to be discussing. Some of them in the papers, of course. But SIM card re-registration, let's start from there. It's been postponed. The deadline has been postponed to July the 31st. And at the same time, the minority has made claims of a stampede yesterday at the NIA headquarters, which led to many people getting injured, all on the back of securing a Ghana card and re-registering their SIM cards. I've heard of so many stories in Tema, in other places where you join long queues and day after day you have to be there for days without end. How we've approached the SIM card registration process and then the SIM re-registration that has been postponed to July the 31st. I mean, what do you make of all of it?
I think it started well, but later we see.
Which one are you starting with? The Ghana card
I'm starting with the SIM card registration.
Right.
It started well. People were getting in, but later the queues became many, very long and winding, and created all manner of difficulties for people. Then added to this was the issue of you getting the NIA card to be able to register. That was a whole lot of experience. So looking at the two, we realize that we have had difficulties in managing the two processes, which are very important for our survival in the telecom industry. So yesterday, news came as a relief for many who have not re-registered their SIM cards to do so in July 31st or thereabouts, and then also to enable those going for the NIA card to be able to do so within the short period of time. I believe that the two institutions I'm talking about, the NIA people and then the telecom operators, now that the deadline has been extended, they'll be able to do their homework well so that we reduce the pressure and the unnecessary delays and all that. Let us remember that our ability to do this thing within a short space of time will enhance productivity so that people don't leave their offices, go and join long queues before they come back to work. Now we need all hands on deck to be able to deliver the productivity that this country requires in order to surmount the current challenges we face.
Well, millions and millions of people are supposed to not have been able to register, not even having their Ghana card, to talk of SIM card re-registration. But do you personally know of any people who have tried to re-register who have not been able to do so? Do you know of any such people? I mean, in your...
No, I don't know that, but we are reading from newspapers, hearing from various news channels. So I believe that there are people out there who have such problems. So now that they have been given this new deadline, they will work within that framework of time to be able to do this work in no time.
I know you know of Agenda 111 to put up 111 district hospitals and all of that, among others. We find it curious, and I just want to run this by you. Health Minister Kweku Agyeman-Manu, we sought some information from his outfit, and basically the outfit is saying they do not know, they do not have the details of these hospitals. But initially, you would recall that in January, the same health minister spoke about 55 Agenda 111 hospitals under construction. And the claim now is that they don't have any data on it. From a policy perspective, I know you dabble in that as well. How does this strike you? A health ministry, we're having 111 district hospitals being put up, and they speak about it initially. But the next time, when we want information as media people, they say they have no idea about the project. The logical sequence, how does it hit you?
I was taken aback yesterday when I followed your conversation, your network, JoyNews, the request you made to the ministry and the response. I was so surprised that this is a project that the minister and the ministry, for that matter, started talking about this. And now that the real questions come to them, and they said that they don't have, information about that. So the initial information, the question is, where did they get it from? Is it the case that somebody is hiding any information from the public? I don't think so. But if my answer is right, then I believe the ministry must be forthright and come out with all the necessary information. Maybe the time your network sent the request, there were a number of issues or some amount of information that had not reached the decks of the minister. I believe that this is a time for them to right the wrongs so that nobody will take them for granted or have some doubts over the project. Already, let us remember that when the project started, there were people who were doubtful about whether it is feasible, whether they have the resources to drive this project home. So they should not compound the issue by giving us conflicting stories that tend to poison the minds of people, and people will lack confidence in the projects. Very important projects such as what the government has thrown out as a policy. They need to be able to get the basics right so that the right information is given and leaving nobody in no doubt at all that the program is feasible, is viable, and then it has all that it takes to start. Otherwise, you leave the public to come out with all manner of interpretation, and that will not bode well for a government of a democratic state such as Ghana.
Right before we start with the papers and get into the Daily Graphic, a quick one. The Gori accidents seem to still be happening. In the Western region, an accident in which some 14 lives have been lost, some say 15, and the numbers keep getting counted. And then again, on the Tema stretch as well, another such incident. So many accidents happening here and there. Do we look, as far as you are concerned, to be getting the situation under control? Because it appears we are repeating what we saw last year.
I'm not sure we are fighting the problem the way it has to be. Because day in, day out, we are hearing stories, gory tales of accidents where we lose precious lives, where properties are destroyed, and a host of other problems. And we seem to have very little solution to this. I'm so surprised that we are still grappling with a situation like that. We need to be up and doing and approach this problem with all the seriousness that it deserves. Otherwise, we are going to lose a lot of people, and that will affect the fortunes of this country. We must get serious and tackle this problem head on.
Let's get into the daily graphic, Doc. Confronting economic challenges, difficult decisions ahead. President hints Council of State slashes allowances by 20%. Yes, they do get allowances. And the story says the president has said in the face of the global economic challenges with their impact on the country, the government has taken difficult but necessary decisions to bring the economy back on track. He said details of the decisions will be announced on Thursday, saying the times call for difficult decisions. Doc, so that is what we've been told. On the back of that meeting, the economic management team, cabinet, jaw-jawing to map the way forward out of the economic doldrums in which we find ourselves. We've been told that the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, will appear in parliament on Thursday. Some have said, like the likes of Okuja-Ablakwa, that this is too little, too late. Other leaders, even as early as December, November last year, were adopting measures in Rwanda and other sister African countries. We have waited to this point. They feel we are already way too deep down there. I've listened to the Bank of Ghana say that some of its measures in shoring up the city, for example, we may not see the impact till about a fortnight and more. But some are not so optimistic. What is your take? What are your expectations as we hear from the finance minister on Thursday?
There are a whole lot of proposals that I have in my mind that I want to share.
Right.
One, the government must come out with concrete ideas that work, not ideas that are populist in nature, that do not inure to the benefit of this country. They must get this thing straight. Two, they must have a modest approach to issues, all right, than promising heaven and earth that you cannot deliver. And the third, they must do well to cut waste and stamp up corruption. You see, we don't have much, so we need to be able to manage the very little that we have prudently. And that is why I'm calling for this. And then there must be dedication and commitment towards, strengthening the frontiers of the country's economy without, any delay at all. And of course, there must be strict enforcement of the rules of the game. Anybody who doesn't play ball according to the rules of the game, they should get the courage to sanction people who want to thwart the effort of government in this direction. And above all, the size of government, why? It should go down. And so that we reduce the bill that we pay in that direction. I'm so surprised that we are struggling to have resources, and still the toll booth conversation has not been, up again. We need to bring it back so that the government will look at it and then go in straight away. You are looking for resources, something that gives you something small, you have thrown it away. And where are you going to get the resources from? So I think government must reflect on these things and do it in no time. They have no time to waste, because the more they waste time on this thing, the more the problem gets compounded. And then it becomes what? Available materials for opposition to feed on, to build their messages during campaign, because they have very little time. They have very little time.
On the back of the bit about the allowances of Council of State members, I'm saying this on the back of a message that came in as we put together our reportage yesterday. Someone commented that these members of the Council of State are mostly retirees, so to speak. They've lived their lives, got what they would get, and that per the Supreme Court, whatever decisions they adopt is just counsel. It is not binding on the executive in the first place. So they should be willing to serve the state gratis, for free. What do you think? Some say they shouldn't even be getting any allowances. What is your take on that?
No, I disagree vehemently that we cannot build this state on empty stomach. I've said it and I'll repeat it here. All right. Yes, let us remember that we are looking for quality of people to man that office to give quality counsel. And these are people who have distinguished themselves in their various fields of endeavor. Are you saying that you are getting their services for free? No, that would be unfair to them because they are doing a service for the state. Other than that, they must be relaxing in their home and counseling their family and all that. But they are serving the country for the last time. All right. They need to have some remuneration. But you see, all this type of arguments, if you tie it with the Supreme Court decision that the advice is just, the decisions are just advice and it's not binding on government. I believe that if we want to make effective use of this body and pay the right, remuneration for their effort, we must quickly put them into the second chamber. There, the advice become binding. There, when you are paying, you pay. And then you know that you derive the necessary support from them. Because, look, sometimes we have difficult bills before Parliament. And Parliament find it difficult to pass and all that. If you have a body like this as a second chamber full of experienced people who are fearless, they have no sympathy for things that are unnecessary for the advancements of this country. When you have them as a second chamber, they have the courage, they have the tenacity to withstand all pressure and come out with meaningful legislation.
So you're basically speaking of a bicameral legislature.
Exactly so. Because you are paying them. There is a group of people who are experts. They have all manner of ideas and knowledge, experience, all there is they have. And then you are also, financing the activities. Why don't you put them at, a body that their decision will be binding on government instead of it being an advisory body? I believe that that's the direction we should go. And there are people that we can't throw away at all. This is the time when people they are able to deliver what the public require from them. Because, look, they have no skeleton, they have nothing, they have distinguished themselves. They want to leave a legacy for the country. So we should be able to design our system in such a way that we drop them into a system that they will be able to give us the best for this country.
Interesting. The way, talking about a bicameral legislature so that we can incorporate the Council of State. But it appears a lot of people didn't even know that they were taking allowances. Some people felt they were offering their services for free for nationalistic or patriotic purposes. Should we know how much they are getting in allowances? Do you think it's important?
Well, why not? They are public officers. So Why are we hiding the remuneration from the public? When the taxpayer, you are requiring the taxpayer to cough up money to pay their taxes, and then so that they service all these people. We are entitled to the amount of money that they take. That should not be kept in secrecy at all.
Right. Not be shrouded in any secrecy. Let's get into this other story in the Daily Graphic and wrap and move on to other papers. OSP unveils corruption league table. And this excites me. I'm just looking to see how exactly it's going to impact corruption in our body politic or in the country as a whole. Now, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has launched a corruption league table to compile a list of the most to least corrupt institutions and organizations in the public sector. The corruption league table, according to the Special Prosecutor Cassava, was an important intervention to drive down corruption in the public sector. The project, christened the Ghana Corruption League Table, that is GCLT, will be akin to a fusion of the Corruption Perception Index programs of Transparency International and the Afro Barometer. The table will be a research-based model designed to assess real and perceived levels of public sector corruption. Quickly to you, Doc. The relevance of this and basically its importance and what you expect of it should it take off.
It is not different from what the Transparency International and GII are doing. Every time, if you look at even a report from the think tank, CDD and the like, they publish the league table of corrupt institutions within this country. Right. And we still have corruption festering in this country. The real bit is that governments and institutions lack the political will to deal with corruption head on. That is all. So, yes, it's something that the OSP want to come out with. But for me, if we are not ready to face to bite the bullet and be able to deal with the issue, I'm afraid we can come out with all manner of tables, it will not work. The real issue that we must be bold and be courageous to deal with what? Corrupt people within our fold, within political parties. Do government have the political wherewithal to deal with people within their own parties? That question has not been answered. We have done a lot in this area. Let us remember that issue of what naming and shaming, the issue of what even imprisonment and what have you. And in certain aspect, we use firing squad. All these things did not work. So we need a careful reflection on this issue so that we will come out with something that will stand the test of time. Otherwise, it will be a mere lip service.
Let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper, and it goes back to that story we put up, or that I discussed with you a short while ago. Carnage on road, 14 die in gory accident at Asemasan. And it's a very sad incident. There's also don't change core mandate, universal reach of free SHS. That's according to the CRI. And SIM card re-registration deadline extended to July the 31st. But let's get into the story on page 15. TUC fumes at unstable fuel prices, says situation adversely affecting businesses and the public. And the Trades Union Congress has expressed worry over the frequent rise in the prices of petroleum products. According to the union, the situation is adversely affecting businesses and the populace as a whole. The TUC, in a statement issued and signed by Secretary General Dr. Yaubai Nakra and copied the Ghanaian Times, stated that the unstable fuel prices have led to increases in prices of goods and services, a development it describes as worrying. It also says, more importantly, according to the TUC, suspending taxes and levies on these fuel products in these challenging times will demonstrate to Ghanaians that our government is sensitive to the plight of the people of Ghana. We've been told that there are some measures that will be announced soon to seek to curtail the prices or stabilize the prices of fuel products. Only yesterday, I went to the pump, and where I purchased from, I bought a liter. The last time I had bought before this, which was a few days prior, I had bought at 9 cedis 97. Yesterday, when I went, it was 10 cedis 97, an increment of an extra 1 cedi per liter. That is the reality here. How do you respond to the calls of the TUC, Doc?
This call is not different from many we have experienced over the years. We talk about fuel prices because it affects every aspect of our lives and all that. But very little do we do in terms of how we fix this problem. Because all these development is a function of the dollar fluctuation, CD fluctuation on the world market, and then the issue of the fact that we need to get this crude sent somewhere, get it refined, brought to the country and all that. We have not addressed the very little problems that affect this. So every time we scratch the face of it and it come back to hunters. When Professor Adam Mensah was handling this, he was throwing light on how we can finance these things. We have abandoned that type of conversation. We need to go back to the drawing board, get these things so that we will be able to look at it and see how best it can work for us. We need serious conversation. We need serious reflection in order to address this problem once and for all. Other than that, every time we'll come back, bemoan and criticize government, and then throw our hands in despair, and then go to sleep for the problem to reoccur.
For the problem to recur. Quite a situation there. Let's get into the Daily Guide newspaper. Burger MP's appeals struck out 14 burned to death in Takwa Accra crash. There's also Minister inspects projects in Upper West and Savannah. And then maintain free SHS Child Rights International appeals. Like I mentioned a short while ago, NPP whips NDC to pass €20 million loan. That is another matter of interest. I'm sure you followed it. It nearly skipped my mind. But yesterday in Parliament, the bit about a quorum, whether Parliament had a quorum on the back of Article, I think, 109, as ruled upon by the Supreme Court. You know, the Supreme Court ruling has, yes, come to bear, but it's not reflected in the standing orders of Parliament. Parliament has its own processes to usher in whatever recommendations have been made. And now it's created a sort of flux. So yesterday, there was a situation in Parliament. The first Deputy Speaker said there was a quorum, Others hinted him that, no, you don't have a quorum. You are abusing the process. Member of Parliament for South Dai, Roxanne Nelson Dafiamekpo, stepped in. We had, on that same side, Madam Doyo also step in. And then they had to take a 30-minute break. I don't know whether you followed that issue, but what do you make of it? It's creating quite some tension in Parliament.
Yes, I did follow. And it's the product of the ruling that we are seeing some of these things. But that is to be expected, because whenever you have rulings of this nature, it defines the frontiers for us. So whenever there are little aberrations, Parliament as a body can sit down, reflect upon it, and see how best they can solve it. If not, then somebody must trigger another legal process that will be able to rope in this new problem so that the judiciary can look at it for us. But I believe that Parliament can reflect on it soberly and then have a solution to this if we are really interested in saving this democracy and building a solid one, of course, for the people of this country.
We're getting ready to wrap, and the Finder newspaper, multiple factors crushing the cedi. Pictured there, Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Addison. And can $2 billion injections slow the pace when U.S. Fed is hiking rates? That is the question there. You can check out details of that on page 5. There's talk about transactions involving foreign exchange. There's talk about the U.S. trying to raise interest rates more aggressively. Even internally, our policy rates going up by some 250 points or 2.5 percentage points and all of that. Interesting story on our economy. You can check it out on page 5 of the Finder newspaper. And I don't know how calm you are, Doc, but Dr. Ernest Addison, governor of the Bank of Ghana, the central bank, says, keep calm. cedi will stabilize soon. That's in the BNFT. How calm are you about the cedi stabilizing soon?
Yes, we want to be calm, but we want to also make sure that what they tell us will become a reality, because the situation on the ground now doesn't look good. We are all suffering, and it is the duty of government to bring smiles on the faces of everybody. I know government is working very hard. Bank of Ghana is also doing a bit, but it must be very fast so that the ordinary man will feel it. It shouldn't be just mere rhetoric on paper and assurances. We want to feel it, we want to know it, and it should happen, and in no time. That is the message.
My final bit to you, the head of public sector reforms, Thomas Kusibuafo, interacting with us, is proposing the dismissal of alcoholic public sector workers. And this is on the lighter side. According to him, they do not contribute to the country's development, yet they are still on the payroll. He believes government should dismiss such workers to create space for healthier and more productive workers. What do you think about that?
I miss it. Which workers are they talking about?
So he's talking about public sector workers, and he's saying that he is proposing the dismissal of alcoholic public sector workers. This, of course, is the head of public sector reforms, Thomas Kusibuafo.
Oh, yes. You know, in public sector, they are governed by rules and regulations. So if there's somebody in there who is not working according to the rules, why are you keeping the person there? You need to walk that tightrope in order to be able to deliver your service. So if there's somebody there who is taking pay and is not performing as he's supposed to work, I'm afraid you keeping him there, you become very incompetent. And at the end of the day, you must answer questions. So if they want to get these things done, they must enforce the rules, simply put.
Thank you so much, Doc, for joining us this wet Wednesday morning. Always refreshing connecting with you. We do wish you the best of the day.
I'm grateful.
Right. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante joining us there for this discussion, head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Up next, we have sports. I know all of you are interested in the Black Stars squad and what we can expect ahead of the 25th. More coming your way. Do stay.
It is getting closer and closer. A contest between two nations who fight over everything, including jollof. Well, Joy Sports coverage of that Ghana versus Nigeria World Cup qualifier is brought to you by Qatar Airways, Going Places Together, KFC. It is finger-licking good, Airtel Tigo, Sikakoko bundle. Life is simple, 10 bet for the better. And as we continue our build-up, we're hearing from the president of the Ghana Football Association, Keto Kreku, who has been speaking, as well as the Minister of Youth and Sports. And if you are a Ghanaian and a Nigerian, which of the countries will be supporting on Friday? Good morning, everyone. I am Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. This is AM Sports. Let's start with the dilemma of being a Ghanaian and also a Nigerian. And this is the story of the Igbo king who is married to a Ghanaian. And his family is split between the Black Stars and the Super Eagles. Joy Sports Asarabi Diakon was at their East Legon residence and comes through with this report.
The Black Stars and the Super Eagles are yet to clash for the coveted ticket to the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, but the banter between Ghanaians and Nigerians is as intense as midday sun. The story is no different in the home of the king of the Igbo community in Ghana.
The Super, look, Super and the Eagle, sorry the Eagle, Have you ever seen any stars black before? Have you ever seen a star as black before? Have you ever seen a black star before? Have you ever seen star as a black before? This is green eagles. The green is the grass. The green represent Africa, and the eagle soar a lot, and the eagle carry weight and strength. What are you talking about?
The Igbo king of Ghana, Dr. Chukwudi Ihenetu, is married to Briwa-born Liberty Kwenu. The couple has 7 children, and ahead of the March 25 big game, the children are split between the Black Stars and the Super Eagles. Angel and Martin will be rooting for Nigeria.
The players have great skills. Secondly, I just have a strong feeling that, they're going to make us proud. I think Nigeria 2, Ghana 1.
Second leg?
Second. I think Nigeria 4, Ghana 1.
We have a better team, we have teamwork, and we have the best or the good players. Like we have a player like Nacho and Wilfred Ndidi. So we can score Ghana, but the match won't be easy. But I think Nigeria is going to win 1. And when we go to our home, Nigeria is going to play goalless draw.
Angel and Martin's sibling Evans will be supporting Ghana instead.
I don't think Nigeria is going to win us because the history is going to repeat itself again. Nigeria is never going to beat Ghana. Ghana is going to beat them only 1 goal. We will go to their home, we will play 2-0 against Nigeria.
The game is christened the Jollof Derby. Ghana Jollof or Nigeria Jollof. The Igbo king of Ghana prefers the latter.
I'm a Nigerian and my mom cooked the best jollof. So nobody will ever say that his or her mother food is not nice. So my mom trained us with jollof rice. So Ghana jollof rice cannot be compared to Nigeria jollof rice, more especially the one my mom cooked. So jollof rice of Nigeria is the best.
But his daughter Liberty has a different opinion altogether.
When I tasted Nigerian jollof, was okay, but Ghana jollof, God, is the best.
No matter who secures qualification to the 2022 World Cup, one thing is for sure: the family of the Igbo king of Ghana will enjoy a West African jollof.
And now let's hear from the president of the Ghana Football Association, Kate Okreku, who has described the Black Stars World Cup qualifier playoff against Nigeria as a contest of pride, saying Nigerians are Ghana's little babies, but they want to behave as if they're the big boys.
The waiting period is over. It is that time of the year where every Ghanaian and every Ghanaian will have to stand up and be counted. It's that time of the year where our country's pride is at stake. It's that time of the year where our proud warriors will once again step forward to be counted. It's that time of the year where Ghana must be at the Mondial. But before we do that, we have a common foe, the Super Eagles of Nigeria. They come across as our little babies, but they pretend to be the big boys.
And now the Minister of Youth and Sports, Mr. Yusuf, has tasked the players to rise to the occasion and defend the flag of Ghana. According to him, their performance impacts every household in the country and they must do well to ensure that every Ghanaian is happy.
Government is ready to make sure that we provide the needed logistics to ensure that the team shines on that very day. History, as we know, will guide us, and playing a stadium where all the time the Black Stars get victory also guide the players and also motivate them that they should, the Ghanaians expect nothing less than victory. And that is, but in football, we also know that there are three outcomes when it comes to football. It's either you win, you lose, or you draw. For me, as a minister and Ghanaians, our expectation is to win. And the God we serve, we pray to God all the time and also urge our players to win. But we should also know that it is also possible because the possibilities, the options are there, three options. So it's also possible that we might go into the game and will not deliver. Okay, so we should be ready to accept and know that this is a game, but we urge the players to lift the flag of Ghana very high. That on the 25th, they are not only playing for themselves, they are lifting the country, the flag of our country, and they are playing for the 30.8 million Ghanaians across the world. Everybody will be watching them, and whatever happens on the pitch have impact on every home in Ghana that day. So I have no doubt, I have total confidence in the team that they will deliver. We all know that our team is a very young team, very competent team. In every aspect of life, there is a period where there will be transition. And we are in our transition period as far as our football is concerned. The days we're having Michael Essien, Kojo Asamoah, Sule Muntari, Asamoah Jan, Kevin Prince-Boateng, those caliber of players have all now exited our national team. A new crop of players are coming in. So there's a transition. And it took those players that I've mentioned time to go to their peak. The same way these players have to be given opportunity, there will be a time where they will get to their peak and Ghana will take. And I believe that we are getting there.
It is a contest between two nations who had a contrasting performance at the African Cup of Nations earlier this year. Ghana exited at the group stages without a point. Nigeria exited at the round of 16 after winning their group. And the contest will be happening at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium, where CAF had asked the Ghana Football Association and the National Sports Authority to ensure that it meets some 8 conditions. Well, according to the acting Ashakti Regional Sports Director, Emmanuel Kojo Apia, the stadium is 99% ready to host the tie.
Of new international standard and modern benches at the pitch side have been fixed, while the adjustment of the floodlight intensity has been completed. Now, this means every area of the playing field will be illuminated. The expansion of seats and lockers at the dressing rooms to accommodate 25 persons has been adhered to, and the installation of new modern materials for the referee's dressing room have been fully equipped. Meanwhile, the water heater at the referee's dressing rooms has also been fixed to meet international standards. The CAF office at the Baba Yara Stadium, as well as that of the Media Tribune, Press Conference Room, and Media Center, have been refurbished with modern decks and seats, including all the necessary electronic and working equipment. The National Sports Authority says they are about 80% through with the last condition of equipping the venue operating center with essential equipment. Emmanuel Kojo Apia is the acting regional sports director for the Ashanti region.
We say so far so good. As of today, almost everything is set. Yes. For the pitch, it's excellent. Dressing rooms, they are perfect. The water heater, that is the cold and the hot water, they are also in place. We are just hoping to meet the Black Stars this evening. We are not too sure if they will train this evening or tomorrow, but whichever way, we are set for the event on Friday, God willing.
Okay, we knew that you were supposed to also refurbish the Media Tribune and the Media Zone, where we are going to have the press conference center and all that. What can you tell us about that as well?
We are working towards that. Those gadgets are all on their way coming. We know by tomorrow they should be fixed, just as we did for the dressing rooms. So I think aside of that, any other thing is okay.
Okay, so overall we had 8 conditions. How many have we been able to meet so far out of the 8?
Almost all of them. We have 1 that is still work in progress. Okay. That's the media center, and we are still working hard. And I know by tomorrow, the Director General is on it. You know, he doesn't play with his work. So we know by tomorrow that section should also be set, and that is it.
Okay, so if you're supposed to give us the percentage of work done out of 100, what would you say?
I wouldn't want to exaggerate. I would say 98, 99, yes.
From the Baba Yara Sports Stadium, Delali Atias reporting for Joy Sports.
And Joy Sports will be there to give you comprehensive coverage of that tie between Ghana and Nigeria, as well as the second leg. And our coverage is proudly brought to you by Qatar Airways, KFC, 10Bet, as well as Airtel Tigo. We appreciate your company as always. This has been AN Sports with me, Muftar Nabila.
Well, time now for us to delve into our big stories, and we're talking about food price inflation, the cost of food products out there, food security, to put it mildly. We're going to assess the rising cost of that and what is accounting for that, rising cost of fertilizers and the cedi's own depreciations. But joining us this morning for a conversation as we look at this a bit, we'd be announcing those guests to you shortly. We have traders of essential commodities at the popular Techiman Central Market who are lamenting the soaring prices of food items which have affected patronage. They want government to intervene to save the situation, which has left many frustrated. And our Sabbath was in the market to speak with some of them and came through with this report.
The recent hike in the prices of fuel commodities across the country has compounded to the hardship of many Ghanaians. Today, we are here at the Techiman Central Market, which is the largest food crop market in the West African sub-region. We are here to engage these traders here to find out from them how the situation is impacting on their sales here at the Techiman Central Market. Let's get interactive with these traders to have their take on the state of the increase in prices of goods.
The market is bad because every now and then there is increase in food prices, and this is causing the hike in the prices of goods. I sell pepper here and I travel to Paga for my goods. When I started, The fare per bag is 12 Ghana cedis. Last year, they charged us 25 Ghana cedis per bag, but today we pay 50 Ghana cedis per bag. So the hike in fuel prices is affecting the prices, and buyers here cannot afford it. They need the items but cannot buy due to the cost. A gallon of oil is 300 Ghana cedis. Tin tomatoes is 30 cedis today, and this is affecting our trading activities. We can't make profit, and even the money to give our children for school is a problem. So we are really suffering. Today, even Okada charges 8 cedis from here to Tamale Station. So we are really suffering. These traders say the incessant hike in the prices of goods is adversely affecting their trades, as buyers no longer patronize them due to the exorbitant cost of commodities in the market. Buyers don't buy from us when the prices are high. They really want to buy, but because of the prices, they are unable to buy. So when we go for the goods, we run at loss at the end. At first, we paid 20 Ghana cedis from here to Kumasi, and now it's 25 Ghana cedis. Same applies to the market tools. It used to be 50 pesos, but now it's 1 Ghana cedis. Everything is being affected, so it's compounding to our hardships.
To most of the women we've been engaging, their simple plea to authorities is to ensure that mechanisms are put in place to bring down the cost of fuel prices, which according to them will also impact on transport fares. All we are
going through is as a result of the fuel prices. So we are pleading to those in authorities to intervene because we are really suffering. We are appealing to government to come to our aid with regards to the fuel prices. Our plea to government is to do something about the fuel prices. Even if there's going to be increase, it should be something small so we can afford it.
So this has been the situation from the Techiman Central Market. My name is Anas Sabit reporting for JoyNews.
Well, that is the scene from the Techiman market. Let's now connect with some of our guests. Bismarck Owusu Norte's Programs Officer, Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. We also have John Dumelo, a farmer. Mr. Dumelo, a very good morning to you. Bismarck, a good morning to you as well.
Yeah, good morning.
John, I think you may have to unmute.
Okay, good morning. How is everything?
By God's grace, very well, very well. So let's start from the standpoint of a farmer. You are in the thick of things. Last year, you were celebrating harvesting 3 tons of ginger. But what has the system been like for you in terms of producing the crops that you produce? Let's start with which crops do you produce apart from ginger and all of that? Which other crops do you farm?
Well, good morning. For starters, I do mainly ginger and cabbage, ginger, cabbage, and maize. Those are the 3 crops that I do. And then, of course, I have some grass cutters as well. So that's what I mainly do now.
Right. And what has business been like in terms of growing these crops? In the last few months, we have had what has happened in different parts of the world, shocking the system, apart from even the fuel price inflations and all of that. But we have the Russo-Ukrainian war as well. What has it been like to produce these items, let's say, in the first quarter of this year?
Well, it's been tough. For starters, the prices of fertilizer has gone up. The prices of weedicides, pesticides have also gone up, almost doubled over the last few months. I mean, before the dry season, we used to buy, fertilizer. I mean, the 50 kg, we used to buy, 250, 260, almost 300. But now it's 450 Ghana. That is even if you would get some to buy in the north. And, so basically it's almost doubled. And the tractor services that we use, those days they would take 60, 70 cedis to plow an acre. But now you will even be lucky to get 150, somebody willing to plow your acre for 150 cedis. And so the price of cultivation has gone up. And maybe for some of us, yes, we can absorb some of the shocks. But the question is, do we pass the price increase to our consumers? Because now, you're producing a bag. For instance, ginger. I mean, now a bag of ginger is about, let's say 330, 340 Ghana. Okay, fine. I mean, it's gone up. We know that probably in the next few weeks, it'll still go up. Do I now transfer the cost of it, the rising cost of it, to the consumer? So now when my clients call me for bags of ginger and I say, oh, right now ginger is 350 Ghana. Hey, John, it's expensive. I'm like, it is not my fault, because all the sectors in the value chain, the cost of production has gone up. Those who transport it for you, at least from the farm to maybe where you store it, they've increased their prices. Even those who transport it from the farm to Accra, they've increased their prices. I mean, and so things are tough, but I'm looking at the brighter side. The brighter side is people still need to eat, people still need to be fed, and we are still going to keep on pushing so that we make sure that, we ensure, so that we ensure that everything goes on well in this country. I mean, we're not going to be deterred. We're just still going to keep on pushing so that everybody will have food on their tables at the end of the day.
But let me find out from you, are these prices deterrent? I mean, are they pushing you out of market? You may be in a special place where maybe, like you said, you can afford to absorb some of these and not pass all of them to your customers. But if you look at it generally, are these price inflations? And I'm just looking at what you've said. Fertilizer prices going up from 250, 260 cedis to about 400 cedis. Getting people to work with tractors, which would have cost you about 50, 60 cedis. Now, they would not charge you anything less than 150 and all of that. Are these deterrent? Are they hampering your farming activities?
Well, it is, of course. It's hampering because if you look at this year, I was trying to increase my production from about 200 acres to maybe 300 acres. But when you look at the cost of it, it's a deterrent, because I'm like, look, whatever money I'll use to do the 300 right now is the same money that we're using to cultivate the 200 acres. And so I might as well just still do the 200 acres and so that I don't get at a loss. And so it's a little bit of a deterrent. But the brighter side, like I always say, is people need to eat all the time. Somebody has to farm. Somebody has to what do you call it, provide, the food stuff. And also the number of people we employ, you can't just say, okay, this year you're not going to farm. What about those who help you, the farm hands on the farm? What are you going to tell them? What about those who transport your goods for you? What about even those who are even going to bag your goods for you? And so you can't just say you're stopping because prices are going up. We need to keep on moving forward. It is a deterrent. I mean, if you look at fuel cost alone, I mean, a couple of days ago, I went to the farm and I came back, and I'm now spending 30%. I'm buying 30% more fuel to go to the farm and back. And
you're buying 30% more fuel?
I mean, yes. I mean, look, I used to fill my tank 600, 650, but now it's 900 Ghana cedis. I mean, that's the sad reality. I mean, I nearly took a picture of it yesterday and I posted it, but I was like, this is bad. I mean, now it's 30%, it's gone up 30%. And I'm sure a lot of people will now attest to the fact that, of course, fuel prices have gone up. And so, but still, you can't just leave people hanging. People need to be fed. People need to be employed. Families need to be fed. And so we're going to keep on pushing, and we're just going to hope for the best.
Just before I move on to Bismarck for a few, thoughts there, I just want to find out from you, do you get any subsidized fertilizers? I don't know which belt you are in terms of your category when it comes to farming. I mean, the level, you're farming some 200 acres, you were hoping to expand to 300. Yes. So it's not a small scale farm, but do you get any subsidized fertilizers that maybe cushion you?
No, I don't. I don't at all. I mean, the few times I've tried to get subsidized fertilizers, I mean, the reality on the ground is that everything is being politicized. When you go to some places for the subsidized fertilizer, though, you need certain requirements, which of course I don't.
Requirements like what? Like what?
I mean, you have to be a present party person before you can get fertilizer. I mean, that's the reality on the ground, especially in the north, you know. So unless you want to pass it through somebody else, and I mean, it's a long process. So I don't get access to, what do you call it? I don't get access to subsidized fertilizer. And a lot of people are also not getting access to subsidized fertilizer because the requirements are just illegal.
Hold for me, John. Let me engage Bismarck as well. Bismarck Owusu-Nortey, Programs Officer, Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. What John Dumelo says, is that reflective for you of the reality on the ground? And we know, for example, that in Ukraine, Russia, these petroleum products, one of their derivatives is fertilizer. And so with what is happening there, it has also impacted the fertilizer market. But I'll get into that. But is that the reality, as John Dumelo paints it, that you see in your association as far as members are concerned?
Well, good morning and good morning to your viewers. Even John is I call him a privileged farmer. So if you have someone like John, who is a privileged farmer, who is able to absorb some of these costs, is even complaining, then you can consider the plight of the smallholder farmer who is doing a 1 acre or 2 acres of land. And I think John put it in the right perspective when he spoke about the rising cost of production when it comes to producing his crop. Now, if you take a critical look at the smallholder farmer, and for purposes of the discussion, I would want to use even just maize as a case study. Now, last year, if you want to produce an acre of maize, just 1 acre, you'll be spending close to about 1,700 Ghana cedis last year. So when you are doing fertilizer, we are doing your weeding size, you are doing your labor, harvesting, all those things, you spend 1,700 for 1 acre. Now, for this year, we are still compiling the cost because even costs are still going up every day. But what you've done so far, this year, an average farmer is going to spend about 3,300 cedis to cultivate on the same acre of land. Just look at the difference, just within a space of 1 year. You rightly mentioned the issue of the fertilizer. Last year, and for some of the farmers, luckily for us, we have some of our farmers who benefit from the subsidy program. Last year, if you are getting a subsidy fertilizer, the 25 kg, you would pay around 53 Ghana cedis for 25 kg. This year, the prices that have been released by MOFA is that for a 25 kg fertilizer, you are paying 160 Ghana cedis. John spoke about the weed size, which has gone up, transport service, which has gone up, tractor, which has gone up, and everything that has gone up. So the effect of what you even had last year is what we are feeling this year. So last year's costs from 2020 to 2021, the resultant effect is probably low production, and the current hikes in food prices is costing us what we are experiencing now, where we are having high cost of fertilizer, high cost of fuel, coupled with the shortage that we experienced last year, hence the prices we are facing now. That situation that I'm telling you that even for next year is going to be worse. And that's
you project that it's going to be worse in 2023. Why do you make that projection?
So that's the point I was making, that last year, when we produced for an acre of maize, you will need 1,107 Ghana cedis last year. This year, if you are producing, you will need more than 3,300 Ghana cedis your cost of production has increased by more than 80%. What happens is that when you produce, the final product will definitely see some increases to make up for the high cost of production that you incurred. Mind you, for next year, you'll be experiencing issues regarding maybe high fuel prices. You might be experiencing issues regarding high transportation prices. That might also add up to the cost. So we should be bracing ourselves for a higher increase in input prices. Now, the challenge even for this year is that I think quite recently we heard from the Ghana Meteorological Agency, who are predicting that even this year you might experience low rainfall. And to the extent that if you look at our agroecological zones very well, you realize that in the middle belt, we normally have 2 planting seasons. So they have the major and the minor season. The major season normally starts around this time, March, April. They plant. By July, August, they harvest. And then wait till September, they start again till about December. From what the agency are telling us, because of the delayed rain, even those in the middle belt who are normally supposed to start planting in the major season, they have to push their plant to around July. So if you're not even careful, we might be having just one season in the middle belt, which normally have 2 seasons. So it means that you're even having a reduction of the production capacity. So if you add up all these factors, the high cost of production, high input cost, the expectation of low rainfall, my brother, the situation now is not pleasant, but what might happen the next year might even be worse. So I think that there is a need to put in measures to ensure that we avert the hardships and the consequences of these things that will have on consumers and on Ghanaians.
And if you had to assess, for example, how much more people have to put in to cultivate, let's say, an acre of farm, whether it is maize or beans or some other product, cabbage, like maybe John DeMello farms as well, what would you say? How much more are farmers having to invest just to make up, to produce the same at the same levels?
Well, it depends on the type of crop that you are talking about. But if you are looking at just, let's say, the cereals where we normally focus on maize or even rice, you should be having an extra 1,000 or 1,200 cedis in addition to what you had last year to produce. So the question would be that extra 1,000, 1,200 cedis, who is bearing the cost? Do you expect the farmer to absorb that cost? If the farmer doesn't have the capacity like John, how do the farmer absorb that particular cost? So it's a serious situation, my brother. It's a serious situation. And there are some instances where the cost may be even up to 2,000. So normally what a rational farmer or a rational person would do, and as John rightly mentioned, is either you cut back production. So for instance, if you had planned to do 3 acres this year, looking at the cost of it, you realize that, no, I can't do 3 acres. Let me just do my 1 acre. For some farmers who normally would like to apply fertilizer on their field, especially if you go to northern parts of the country, where due to the nature of the soil, they need good regular application of fertilizer. If a farmer is not able to get fertilizer because of 1, high cost, or 2, unavailability, what he will do is that either he reduce the acreage that he's doing, or what he will do is that instead of focusing on crops that require fertilizer, he might diversify to other crops that might not necessarily require heavy application of fertilizer. So, for instance, crops like cassava, crops like yam, they are able to withstand pressures without fertilizer. So, if the farmer is saddled with this situation, he has choices to make. He can decide to stop farming completely, reduce his acreage, diversify. And in all cases, it has an effect on the final productivity.
Let me come to you, John. How have you had to cope? You've mentioned that you would have wanted to scale up from 200 acres to about 300, but on the back of some of these developments, you've not been able to do that. But how have you, in small terms, tried to cope with the situation? I mean, fuel prices are up. If you want to use the tractor and if you want to get people to work on the farm for you, that is up. Fertilizer prices are up. How have you put things together to be able to still produce?
I think that for us, it's just about scaling down. So if, for an example, if right now to plow an acre using tractor services is 150 cedis per acre, which has gone up almost double. So if I wanted to do, let's say 100 acres, and I'm paying 150 cedis per acre, that's about 15,000. But hitherto, I would have done twice that amount. And so now it's just about scaling down. We just have to scale down so that whatever amount of money we can use whatever money we're projected to use for the 300, we'll now just scale it down to about 150. And that is going to
You mean you're actually contemplating scaling down from 200 acres to about 150 when you were projecting to move to 300 acres?
Yes, because that's the only way forward. And not just for me, for many other farmers as well, who are doing 1 acre, 2 acres, 3 acres, and hoping this year they were doing 5. They'll scale down to 1. They'll still do 1 or 2, just because we don't have enough liquidity to be able to produce more. Because we don't want to get into a situation where you do it and now you cannot even afford fertilizer. Now it's 450. What if by middle of the year it goes to 600 or 700 cedis? Then your crops are going to die. And the sad aspect of being a farmer is when you get on your farm and your crops are dying and there's really nothing you can do about it. No help from anywhere. And it's a sad situation. And so it's just for farmers this year to scale down and just see how best they can survive. And of course, scaling down means the prices of food, is going to go up. And, by the middle of the year or maybe even end of the year, we're just going to pay double for whatever bag of rice or bag of maize or bag of ginger or bag of cabbage that we produce. Let me give you an example. In December, January, price of cabbage was about 1,008, 1,009. I mean, on a normal day, that price of cabbage should be about 300 or 400 cedis. Now it's come down a bit because a lot of people have harvested. But during the year, it's going to go back up because they need a lot of fertilizer. I mean, cabbage requires a lot of fertilizer, a lot of weedicides, a lot of pesticides. And this is, of course, the only way is to pass it down to consumers. And if you pass it down to consumers, some will say that they can't afford it. And so it's a really serious situation. But I'm looking at the brighter side. What ways can we, solve this problem? Because the only way to solve the problem is if we import, and that's not what we want. Of course, the exchange rate has gone up. If you look at the Poultry Farmers Association, now cost of producing has gone up. And if we don't take time, very soon we might even start importing eggs into this country because it might be a cheaper avenue just for consumption.
Now, having made mention of some of these matters that you've spoken of, so it is inevitable that food prices in the next few months are still going to go up. I mean, I've had people tell me they've gone to market and purchased a single tomato for 1 cedi. I mean, I've had people say that 3 small ones for 2 cedis. I've gone to market myself at a point, and some of these have reflected. So that is the reality, and in the next few months, we can only expect them to go higher.
It's good.
Yes, of course. The next few months are going to go higher, but like my brother said, the major planting season has started, and so once it started, a lot of people are planting now. By June, July, a lot of people will harvest. So the prices might come down because a lot of people are harvesting. But after that, the prices are going to shoot up because after that, what you need now is more irrigation services, more fertilizer services, more agricultural services. And that is when you see that the prices of food will go up. So let us not be, for lack of a better word, let us not be fooled when a lot of people are harvesting. Then some people will come out to say, right now the plantain is cheap, a bundle is 3 cedis or 4 cedis. And so because of that, agric is booming in this country. No, every year things like that happen. You have a glut. Every year that's what's going to happen. But that is not the reality on the ground. The reality on the ground is that the farmers need a lot of help and a lot of support. And that is what we need. And we need it at this point.
And that brings me to a point. I'll put this question to both of you, starting with you, John. That means we should even be careful when we have gluts. We should be trying to store up, save. In this country, we don't have a proper silo system to store grains and all of that, like maize. But maybe we should be looking at that, because it means that when the season is gone, things are going to hike up, prices are going to hike up. And if we could store, it would have been the best opportunity when it's the maize season or the yam season at the end of the year to do so that when the lean season comes, the prices will be pretty stable.
Yes, exactly. And so, yes, one, we need storage, good storage facilities, which of course come at a cost. And it would be, sometimes it's best that you don't put everything, to the hands of the private guys. The government should help us, or to help the agricultural space, by building up storage facilities. That's the first one. The second one is also adding value to what we produce. So let me give you a perfect example, like ginger, like this. In the next few months, the price of ginger will go up. But like I've done, converting them into ginger paste and so on and so forth. So when you convert into ginger paste, you're able to store it for a bit, so that when the prices go up, and still the prices of the ginger paste is still stabilized, because you would have stored a lot of it and now sell. Same with garlic, same with tomatoes, and so on and so forth. And so once we start adding value to something like tomatoes, when the prices start going up, we just take it from wherever we stored it, and then just release it on the market, so that they can cushion, the consumers for a month or 2 or 3 till, the new harvest season comes. And so adding value to whatever we produce is also very, very important. So storage, number 1, and 2, adding value to it. And so sometimes when we have a glut, and the farmers will say, oh, their produce are getting rotten on the farm, and so on and so forth. It hurts most of us. So it hurts a lot of people, because it's like, what can we do to be able to help these farmers, and also ultimately help the consumers, so that the prices are stabilized? And with this, I think the government should really come in a lot to be able to help us to store these goods very well, so that at the end of the day, everybody is happy.
Question. So you agree with him then that things are only going to get worse? He projects that in 2023, things are going to get even worse.
Oh yes, of course. 2023, things are going to get worse. As for that one, there's no doubt about it. Things are going to get worse, but of course, it will get worse, and then hopefully it will get better. For us as farmers, we don't want a case where we always say, oh, things are getting worse. Things are getting worse. Right now, it's a very unstable situation. No, we want the best for farmers. 1, 2, we want the best for consumers, and we want the best for the country as a whole. We want to be able to say that at the end of the day, we've been able to produce enough food to last us the whole year. We've been able to produce enough maize to last us the whole year, enough rice to last us the whole year, enough cassava to last us the whole year, so that the prices are stabilized. So that that when you pick a bag of maize, when you pick a bag of maize, and let's say now, for an example, let's just say a bag of maize now is maybe 250 cedis. We can project that in August or September, it will still be 250 cedis, because we have enough stocks there to last us. And that is what we need to be looking at. And that is what will give us, food security.
Just hold for me, John. Hold for me. Let me also bring in this bit before I come back to Bismarck. Mango farmers, of course, in the Yilo Krobo municipality have started selling off their farms following the invasion of a disease that is ravaging large tracts of farmlands there. Known as bacteria black spot, the bacteria attacks leaves, twigs, as well as the mango fruit. Check this out. Samuel Kojo Brace reports.
It's discouraging. To be frank, it's discouraging, because you invest a lot, you invest so much, and then at the end of the season, when you are ready to harvest, you see BBS destroying your fruits. And most of the farmers have started selling their farms because of this particular BBS issue.
Obed Amevo owns this 10-acre mango farm here at Somenya. Mango farming has been his livelihood in the past 15 years. Obed says all looked good until recently, when disaster struck. A disease called the bacterial black spot, popularly known as BBS, attacked farms, in Yellow Krobo and its environs, and his was not spared. Last year alone, he lost more than half of his investment to this disease.
This BBS issue has been a problem for all the farmers, all mango farmers for the past years. And surprisingly, we've been making all the noise, but for instance, last season I was supposed to harvest for HPW after farm assessment. When they did the farm assessment, I was hitting almost 36 tons. I was only able to harvest I got just about 11 tons.
What?
Yes. And they can testify to that, HPW can testify to that. The association also did this assessment, and that is what is happening. Even if you can look on the ground now, you see, this is as a result of last season. And nobody knows what will happen this season because the rains have not started yet. But once the rain starts, nobody knows what will happen. It's really bad. It's really making us lose a lot. That's the truth.
Preferably when you come and then you scout for the mangoes. You come and then you look on the mango and then you see the symptoms. For now, you can see these symptoms over here. You see some water dripping. Sometimes it might be as a result of Catalyst cat. But as a farmer who has been in the farming for a long time, when you look at this side, you see that there's a mark over here before the water is dripping out. So these are the symptoms of the BBS. So these are direct symptoms of BBS. So normally it cracks like this, the water drips. And then when it rains, with humid conditions, then they begin to multiply. You see this as one. The next 2 days or 3 days when you come, you see another mark here, you see another mark here, and then you can identify that, yeah, this is indeed BBS.
The biggest challenge is funds. You see, we need funds and we need research, proper research to be done. Currently, this one, the chemicals, when they bring it, we are doing it, you see somebody's doing somewhere, someone is doing this one somewhere. But we need the government to get involved. There is that Greek institutions to get involved. The universities should get involved because that is the only way we can solve it. Because it's the whole Ghana, not only it's the whole Ghana. The whole mango industry is on its nails. And if we don't solve it, the system will collapse. We will lose our investment, and to be honest, a lot of people will be unemployed. So why don't we invest into it? You understand? Yes. So that's the biggest thing is funds, and then the research works.
Well, that full documentary will air on The Pulse at 3 p.m. later today. You can get the full details from there, but it also paints the picture of how farmers are struggling, whether it is mango, pineapple, cabbage like John Dumelo Farms, or even ginger. But let me come to you quickly, Bismarck, before I come back into the studio. Bismarck, for you, so when you look at this bit to do with a glut, for example, how are your members, how are you positioning yourselves to avoid that? Because it appears in this year, we simply can't afford a glut because those same food products will be needed in the course of the year. And any gluts will be inimical to your fortunes and the Ghanaians who would want to purchase your products.
Well, the issue of how farmers will address gluts is a bit difficult for the smallholder farmer or farmers in general. John mentioned, I think, 2 things that could be done to address issues of gluts, issues about storage and issues about processing. Now, when you come to storage, farmers in their own way have means of storing their produce, but their storage capacities are quite low. So what happens is that if a farmer, for instance, produces, let's say, 10 bags of maize, maybe his capacity is to be just about 5 bags. So what he can do is to just sell the 5 bags off and then keep the remaining 5. Maybe wait till that time to sell. There's a market and then you sell. Other farmers do have higher storage capacities where they can store more than that. But a lot of them do not have it. So what happens is that once they produce the crop, they just wait on their farm for either the marketplace or the aggregators to come over and purchase them. So at that moment that the glut starts, because there are a lot of these food stuff on the field, because they have no place to store them, they are scared it might get spoiled and they might lose everything. So they can sell them at giveaway prices to these aggregators. When these aggregators buy them, some of them, fortunately, also have storage capacities. So they go and store them. Others do not have, so they push them to the market. When it gets to the market, you have a series of various products coming. So there's a whole lot of products in the system. There's glut, prices come down, we are all happy. But the reality is that when it's now the lean season and you don't have them, you have little of those produce in the warehouses. So if they are little, some of the farmers or even the aggregators, they anticipate or they do their own calculation and forecasting and realize that if they can still hold on to it for a bit, the price will continue to shift up. And as it shifts up, it's to their advantage. So what can be done, as John said, is to look at our storage system very well. We have a program that the ministry have their one district, one warehouse program. In fact, I can attest that if you go around some of the districts, you will see this warehouse started. Unfortunately, they are not in use. So when the farmer produces, there's no avenue to even go and store that particular produce, let alone expect that in the lean season it can be released. Also, there was a key role, or there's a key mandate of the buffer stock company, what you normally call the NAFCO. And their role is that when the farmers produce and they sell their produce and there's excess, NAFCO would come in, buy the excess and store them. You store them and you wait till the lean season when we have less on the market, then you release them. In that way, you are controlling prices because prices will not shoot up because there's no shortage in the market. Unfortunately, NAFCO is not able to play its mandate very well. Right. So they are not able to do that. In addition, John also spoke about value addition. Unfortunately, this is not a concept that is doing very well in the Ghanaian system. You know, there are people who really speak about the real division of labor, where they feel that a farmer's work is to farm and produce. In terms of value addition, there should be a whole value chain, a whole person who does that. Unfortunately, our systems are not structured very well. So you might have a few farmers who are able to do value addition. But unfortunately, it's not done on a large scale. So most of the time, what we produce is what we just sell. So until we attack the main issue of addressing storage, until we ensure that we have our institutions working to mop up excess and release them when there's lean season, we are still going to have these perennial challenges. When there's glut, we will all be happy, we will buy it at low prices, and we will all to live. When there's a lean season, the price will shoot up and we will suffer.
That's a general problem. Hold for me, gentlemen. Hold for me, John. Hold for me, Bismarck. Evans Shremens is a farmer as well and CEO. Thank you, Evans, for joining the conversation. You farm, what, 500 acres of land?
Yes, 500.
What do you plant?
I do cassava.
Cassava?
Only cassava, yes.
And what else?
Only cassava.
Only cassava?
Yes.
500 acres of cassava?
Cassava, yes.
What type of cassava? I know there are different types depending on what you want the end product to be.
I do one we call tapioca manioc type 1, which is called in our local parlance sika. Sika banchi.
Tapioca manioc type 1.
And then we have the type 2, which is called isam. I mean, these are improved varieties that is used for starch. It could be used for flour, gari, ethanol, maltodextrin, and then some other things. Now, the cassava industry, I think that if we're able to zero in on research and then investment in the cassava industry, I think that we can be able to turn our economy around.
Just even with the cassava industry?
Yes, just with the cassava industry. Just alone, with the cassava alone, we can destroy the cassava and use it to turn our economy around. You know what, just recently, around 2019, we imported only starch, about 300 tons of starch, amounting to almost about $200 million.
Wow.
And that $200 million could have been injected into the economy, could have created jobs and other things. So I think that we need to really look at our food system and how our food economy and ecosystem is and then try to bring research, development. We have to have a strategic, intentional approach to how we do our farming in Ghana.
Okay, so cassava, yes, and it directly affects you because you're a cassava farmer. But looking at the chain broadly and focusing again on what you farm, what has been the impact of fertilizer prices going up, the cost of labor, the cost of tractors and all of that? I mean, pain for us. Your colleagues have already elaborated on that. But what is your reality farming in 2022?
The reality is that it's going to continue to create stress for us Because
so let's detail the stresses.
Yeah. So
what has changed when it comes to purchasing fertilizer?
It simply means that
getting labor and all of that.
The purchasing power will go down because initially we were selling NPK for 53 cedis. Now NPK is 160 Ghana cedi.
It was 53.
53.
How long ago was that?
Around 2001, just last year.
You mean 2021?
2021.
It was 53 cedis.
In the market, yes, it was 53 cedis.
And now you're getting it for
I'm buying it for 160 Ghana.
That's about a 300%.
160 Ghana. So if I'm doing
200%,
if I'm doing 500 acres, and I'm supposed to buy fertilizer for maybe $200, you can imagine the amount I'm going to use. So what we are seeing, the impact is that until the government steps in quickly, I mean, it should be a matter of urgency. Farmers cannot be able to produce the food that our country will require. And here again, I'm on the village, at the village level. I deal with farmers at the rural communities. And you can see how many of them are diversifying their farms into other things. Some are
into mining, for example.
Mining,
selling to galamsey.
Moving to galamsey. Some are selling to Chinese people. Some are giving out to Lebanese and all that. Many of them have even left the farm. They are doing small shops in the village and selling toffees and milk and other things. Why? Because they can't afford, to purchase fertilizer, even a tractor coming on your farm to plow. Okay, last year, plowing was around 120 Ghana. Today, plowing is 250 at my level.
At your level?
At my level.
500 acres?
Yes, 500 acres, 250 at Mampong right now. Right now, if you go there, they will tell 250. Plowing 1 acre. So if I'm plowing for 500 acres, and I intended to do 700 acres, but because of the prices and because of the cost of fuel and diesel and all that, I may not be able to do 700. So the global crisis, have had an impact on us as a farmer. But what we are saying is that we want the government to really step in. Otherwise, we will not be able to feed our country. The food crisis is real, and there's a difference between food availability and food accessibility. The fact that there is food on the market doesn't mean that the poor can access the food.
Right.
So we have to look at it because there may be food on the market, there may be cassava, there may be yam, there may be tomatoes on the market. But can the poor and the vulnerable access those things? Do they have the purchasing power to do that?
That is the question. And I just did the math here. So you said 150 per acre, right?
250.
250 per acre. Now, when you do the mathematics, 250 cedis by 500, you get 125,000 Ghana cedis. Exactly. So that is what it costs you
to do only the plowing.
To plow your 500 acres, 125,000
Ghana
cedis.
You have to do a ridging, and the ridging too will cost the same amount. You may even have to do harrowing.
Wow.
And so if you cost it, then you are getting into almost about $100,000 thereabout. And then the labor cost, every 1 acre, as you do one labor for one it will be around 150 Ghana cedi. For last year it was 100 Ghana, but this year it will be 150 Ghana for labor. Then the planting.
Has this led you to think of downsizing? John says he was thinking of doing 300 acres this year, moving from 200 acres. He's had to downsize to about 150 acres. Is this making you contemplate downsizing from 500 acres, which would also mean that you're going to produce less?
Well, based on, in my context, I think that the cassava industry is very profitable. It's 100% on return. So I will not be able to downsize. Well, I was thinking of expanding to about 700 acres. But because of the prices and the cost of diesel and other things, I may want to maintain.
And diesel has really gone up.
Exactly. I may want to maintain the 500 for this season and see how the next season turn out. Then I may want to expand. But what I'm saying is that we really have to have a conversation about how to industrialize cassava if we want to really push our food index up. Because cassava is key to growing our economy, is key to expanding our foreign direct investment, is key in adding value. The thing that cassava can do in our country, if If we all have to have our eyes on cassava and look at how it is done and the value addition, I tell you, we can do much for our country. It can earn so much foreign exchange for our country.
Let me come to you, John, and I'm so grateful that you've stayed with us all through this while, because this is a very important conversation. John, so Bismarck was talking about value addition and the problems involved. I know sometime last year, Mellow Foods, you started processing ginger into ginger paste. What are some of the crucial problems you are facing doing that? Because we want value addition to the products, but what are the bottlenecks you are facing, John?
I think the key problem is access to finance. I mean, look, yes, last year I started adding value to the ginger, converting the ginger into ginger paste, packaging and everything. But if I want to scale up, it's going to be a huge problem. As we speak right now, I'm putting up a ginger processing factory, in the Guan district. And everything is self-financed, but I'm doing it step by step. But if we had, and when I say we, I'm talking about farmers, if we had, financial institutions coming to say, look, we have identified you, we've identified, let's say, Mr. Bismarck, we've identified Mr. Evans, we've identified John, we've identified 1, 2, 3 people, we know you are into agri. This is what we can do to help. I think it is going to help all of us. And so for me, the rate at which I want to grow is not how I'm going in terms of the farming aspect, because everything is self-financed. But if you look at the bigger picture, if you look at the vision that we, the farmers, we want to get to, I think we just need a lot of support. Now, Mr. Evans mentioned something about, when you also did the calculations, 125,000 cedis just for plowing. That's a lot of money, you understand. And for us, we can't also use that same amount of money to buy tractors and put down, and then every year we use it. That's really not going to be beneficial to us. And so if you had somebody like the government coming in to say, okay, we've identified Mr. Bismarck, we've identified Evans, we've identified John, we've identified these people. What do you need? Okay, your tractor service is 125,000. Okay, fine. We have tractors. We'll pay you. We'll bring the tractors onto the farm. Just pay 10,000 cedis, which is almost, whatever the cost. That's really going to help him to scale up and then eventually help a lot of people. And so for us as farmers, access to credit is very, very difficult. And, it's really hindering our progress. And value addition is something that can really help grow the agri industry. So if I'm adding value to my ginger that I produce, and others are also adding value to tomatoes, to watermelon, to other things as well. Imagine the number of factories or processing plants that can be set up across this country, the number of jobs it to produce, and the number of foreign exchange we are going to earn as a country, all because we added value to whatever it is we're producing. And that is what is important. We need to have a different mindset from just producing to just consumption. We need to now shift it to producing, to processing, to consumption, so that you have different aspects or different varieties of whatever it is we produce. And so that's the conversation we should start looking at. The key point is efficiency. That is what we should look at. Efficiency makes things very, very easy. When you go to America and so on and so forth, just about a few, 2 or 3 or even 5% of the population are farmers. Yet they are so effective that they actually stabilize the food security. But when you come to Ghana, you have a lot of people getting into farming, yet we don't have a stable food security system. So that means efficiency is key. Research is also key. We need to start investing into our research institutions, CSIR, all these other research institutions. I know they've done a lot of research. We need to go to them, sit down with them, dialogue with them and say, look, let's take cassava, let's take ginger, let's take cabbage, let's take coconut, let's take all the plants. We know you've done research on it. How can we now finance those research proposals and put them into practice? That is the only way we can move forward with research and development.
And it's very important. The United States, like you mentioned, just about 3 to 5% of the population. Same in Brazil, a place where I've actually seen these farmers, and they are the big boys, so to speak. They are the one with the capital, the farmers, vast swathes of land, and they have the money. The question is, can we replicate same here so that farmers can actually be self-sufficient? But let me ask you this, and I think it's a question I'll ventilate across the guests we have. Is farming still profitable as you, John Dumelo, see it currently? Is it still profitable even if you decide not to pass on all the burden onto the buyers? And would you still, I've heard you time and again talk about encouraging young people to get into farming. I'm one of those who want to go there, but the capital involved. So is it still profitable as it is now for you? And would you still advise Ghanaian youth, for example, today to go into farming?
Well, the word profitable is relative. If somebody makes 1%, he will say it's profitable. If somebody makes 50%, he will probably say it's not profitable. So the word profitable is relative. But moving forward, I think farming is okay. But the thing about farming is once you make money, a little money out of farming, you are thinking of reinvesting back into your farms to scale up production. And so yes, farming can be profitable. But farming is all about times and seasons. And so if you are able to gauge the times and seasons very well, you will make money in farming. And farming is dedication. It's not about you've planted and you are in Accra, or you've come home and then 2 or 3 weeks later you go back. No, you have to dedicate all your time to farming. With regards to the youth getting into farming, I think that's the only way forward.
Before you get into the youth, so I'm trying to find out now, though you are complaining of all these components, prices of fertilizer, diesel, and all of that, is it still profitable for you?
It will be profitable if I transfer the cost to the consumer. That's the reality on the ground. I mean, yes, it is profitable, but if I transfer most of my costs to the consumer, it will be very profitable. That's the reality on the ground.
All right. So get into the youth bit very quickly. Would you still encourage young people to go into farming?
Oh, yes, I would encourage young people to go into farming, but you have to start on a smaller scale. Just start on a smaller scale and then scale up once you see the profits and once you see the ins and outs. I mean, a lot of people have, I mean, the good thing about Ghana is we all have families, and our families all own lands in our little villages and our towns and our, small cities and so on and so forth. So access to land, I don't think is a problem. What is the problem is access to credit to be able to start. And so, I mean, then you can start with 1 acre and just see how things go. And the next year you scale up, and then the following year you scale up. And then that's how we'll make, farming attractive. I think on a much national scale, we should be able to bring back Operation Feed Yourself, just like they're doing in the 70s. Just feed yourself, just plant, see how things are going, and you see how we will develop the interest in farming.
Okay.
And that is the only way forward.
Hold for me. Let me bring in Bismarck. John is saying we should relaunch Operation Feed Yourself, where people were actually growing whatever they would eat in backyard gardens and all of that. My own family did that in the 70s. But I just want to find out from you, is farming profitable? He's talking about starting small, 1 acre, 2 acres. But for the members of your group, Bismarck, from what they tell you, is farming still profitable? Briefly on that.
The profitability of farming in Ghana hinges on a lot of factors, right? In advanced countries where you have certain specific systems, you are certain of irrigation, so if no rain, there's an alternative. You are certain of financial credit at very good rates, so you can go to them. You are certain of a structured markets, once you produce, there are people ready to buy. You are certain of a certain price. Unfortunately, in Ghana, because our systems are not structured, is based on seasons, as Don said. So if you are lucky and farm in a period where the rains are good, they're not excessive, there's no drought, data is available, you're able to get markets. Yes, you make quite some good money. But if you're unfortunate and you plant in a period where the rains don't come, unfortunately, you might have pests or diseases affecting your farm. You don't have access to agrochemicals. You are producing, you don't have a ready market and stuff like that. Then you really, really regret into farming. That's the reality. So it's not a really straightforward yes or no. It depends on a lot of factors, and it's because of the nature of our agricultural systems. Our systems are not well structured. Everybody does what he or she pleases. They're one of the reasons why a lot of these institutions don't finance as great is the risk element, which is not taken off. So because of that factor, you must be quite lucky, because I have a lot of farmers who can attest that there are seasons where they invested and they made so much money. And there are other times that they invested and they lost everything. There are, like, for instance, in times of fall and worm or periods of drought or stuff like that, you can virtually lose everything from your farm. So it's a period of seasons. It depends on the situation. But all things being equal, you could make some windfall if you do it to farming. And that's about, we would want that situation to be a consistent situation, to be certain. While there is certainty in business, it becomes easy to lure the youth to go into farming.
Right.
Again, the issue about whether the youth should go into farming. I think sometimes we only think that farming is only about going to the farm and selling the land. Their value is a whole value chain. Some can be involved in the tilling of the land, others can be involved in harvesting, others can be involved in marketing. So there are various elements where the youth can intervene. The most important thing is to make sure that those opportunities are there, they are risk-free, they are certain, they are profitable. If that happens, the youth will go into farming. If that does not happen, it will be difficult to convince the youth to go into farming. It's just like a business. If the business is doing well, you don't need anyone to tell you go into this business. Look at it, please do, I'll go into it. But if it's not doing well, you might not be encouraged. No matter the kind of advocacy for Ghana you do, you might not be encouraged. So let's put our systems right. Once we do that, the youth will be interested in farming.
All right. Gentlemen, just hold for me for the last bit, because when I come to you, I'll be having you proffer solutions in about 40 seconds, 1 minute each, so we can wrap the conversation. But before that, I'm looking, Evans, at the food price inflation over time, and it's not looking good in terms of the cost of food and how it keeps rising. And I'm not talking about globally, I'm talking about right here in Ghana. So for you, you say cassava is very profitable. Will that profitability hinge on adding or sharing the cost, passing it on to the buyer, for example? And what would be the solutions that you would proffer, mainly for the cassava sector, for government to help so that you can do even more than 500 acres?
Yeah, so I think that if you look at the cassava, just the fresh root alone will not give you the numbers. What do we need to do is rather to add value to it, to process. You know, the food systems, the whole value chain, because we have to look at the whole value chain, not only the cassava, the whole food value chain, you know, from the supplier to the production, to the distribution, to harvesting, to marketing, to design, to packaging, you know, and then to even to the final consumer, and even disposers. You know, these are a whole value chain. And I think that if you look at it and they invest in the value chain, that is where the money is. And I think that government must look at that area, how it can strengthen the system, the actors, the interactions along the value chain, and everybody you know, getting involved. And I also believe that farming is key, like you're asking. We can do so much with cassava. You know, Exim Bank started a project called Cassava Enterprise Project, and they got about some young people, of which I'm one of them, and they trained them and put them on the farm. And I tell you what, every one of us, okay, is doing very well. Some have 100 acres, some have 200 acres, some have 300 acres, I have 500 acres, others have 400 acres. You know, assuming government take a very strong approach to this, okay, and expand it across the country. And people are doing 1 acre, 2 acre, 3 acre cassava. You know, we are having processing later across the country, and everybody is involved. China did it, now they are into billions. They are exporting starch and ethanol. Thailand did it, they turned the economy around. Indonesia have done it, they've turned the economy around. Brazil has done it. Why can't Ghana do it?
That's the question.
Why can't Ghana do it? What is preventing Ghana? We have the land, we have we have farmers who are passionate, we have people who want to go into farming. So what is preventing us? What are all these bottlenecks preventing farmers, you know, to be able to do what?
And we have some of the most arable land.
Most arable land everywhere.
So just a quick one. I just want a very brief answer to this, and I'll pass it on to the others as well. So does that mean that if we don't do some of these things, I mean, in 2022, for example, is it going to affect our food sufficiency, our food security in Ghana? Because cassava, a lot of people consume cassava.
We are going to have a very serious issues on our hands if we don't get into it now. It's an urgency. It's a matter of urgency. It's an urgent call. I'm calling the government, the stakeholders, and everyone involved to get on the ground. Let's get this thing off the ground right now.
Okay.
Otherwise,
All right.
we'll be in trouble.
All right. John and Bismarck, I'll start with you, John. Do you agree? So, food security, food sufficiency, as you give your final comments, is it as bleak as Evans painted, that if we don't get it right, we're going to be in a situation? John, I'll start with you. Your final comments.
Yes. Yeah, so quickly, yes. If we don't get it right, we're going to have a very serious situation. But I think moving forward, we should look at other elements that affect food prices or other elements that go into cultivation as a farmer. One, I think it's about time we start producing our own fertilizer in this country on a large scale. Two, the farming, the inputs that we use, hose, cutlass, and so on and so forth, all these agrochemicals, we should start producing it in this country on larger scales so that we are self-sufficient when it comes to agricultural inputs. That way we can be able to control our same prices. We can be able to control our food prices. And so once we start doing all these things and producing all the inputs we need in this country for farming, I think we'll move on in the right direction. Because until then, yes, we can do the value added, we can add value, we can do this. But if fertilizer prices keep on going up because we keep on importing fertilizer, it will still affect food prices.
Okay.
If Wellington boots prices keep on going up or rubber prices keep on going up, even though we have rubber, we still export it and then import it as Wellington boots. These are the key problems. These are the key conversations that we should start having. Let's have a long-term plan. The long-term plan is in the next 10 years, we are going to be self-sufficient with the importation of fertilizer, with the importation of agricultural inputs, so that we can now, our outputs will be now stabilized. That is the only way forward.
Right. Thank you so much, John. Let me get to Bismarck. So your final comments in about 40 seconds on how this will impact our food sufficiency and solutions in 40 seconds, if you can.
Yeah, sure. So for ensure food security, there are normally three factors that people consider: whether the food is available, whether it's accessible, whether it's affordable.
Right.
So if you don't meet these three criteria, then you cannot count yourself as a food secure nation. From how things are going now, if you're not careful, you might hit a situation where the food might not be available, it might not be accessible, it might not be affordable. Even if there are instances where it is affordable, it is available but not affordable, there is still priority. So you have to address it. Key solutions. We are thinking, first of all, we heard that the president has urged the various ministries to review their respective flagship programs. We know the PFJ comes to play now, and we are told that there should be some review. I think that the PFJ itself has a lot of implementation gaps. There are a lot of money that you are investing in PFJ that is going waste. It's not going to the right people that need it. I think there should be a proper structuring of the PFJ to ensure that those farmers who actually deserve fertilizer get it. Secondly, government is also talking about a 30% cut in expenditure for the ministries and MDs. I think we have a different view. We think that a sector like food and agriculture should be exempted, where the monies can be put into productive ventures. Quick productive ventures, our issues about credit, major issue. Right. There are countries where farmers are able to get credit as low as 2%, others even get an interest-free loan. Ghana's case is not the same. If we can find ways to invest money in a credit system where farmers can access the money, use it and pay back with little or no interest, I think we should get some way. I think we should get some way. Right. I think let's focus on this, and then let me replay the point that John made. Let's begin to invest in local production of our inputs. Fertilizer. Right. Let's invest in them. Let's keep the money there, other than spending so much money to import them when we don't know the situation at the global stage. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll just give you this because you have a program coming up on Saturday, the 9th of April, the Ghana Youth Agriculture Summit. Just tell us in some 20 seconds, what's it about?
So like everything that we are seeing here, is because our young people, youth, are not involved massively into the agricultural value chain. And I think that I'm very passionate about getting involved, because if you get involved in the agricultural sector from all the other various actors, and they are part of it, through technology, we can be able to expand our productivity.
So the whole idea is
getting them attracted to agriculture, and then try to break that disconnect, that image disconnect that they have towards agriculture productivity. So we are having the first one happening at KN University on the 9th of April.
Right.
And my friend John DeMello also will be
John
there.
DeMello will be
will
there.
Yes.
John Kuma, Deputy Minister.
Yes. So the government people will come and tell us what are their plans for the youth in terms of agriculture, in terms of the value chain, in terms of everything agric, how they can help us be able to position ourselves for a major food surplus for our country.
All right. Thank you so much, Evans Tremens, our farmer and CEO, Agric Impact Ghana, John DeMello, actor and farmer, and also we had joining the conversation Bismarck Owusu Norte, Programs Officer, Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. Heading into more areas even as we wrap on the AM show. But did you know that the income of a young entrepreneur from some selected businesses is exempt from tax for 5 years? Any young entrepreneur engaged in manufacturing, information and communications technology, agro-processing, energy production, waste processing, tourism and creative arts, horticulture and medicinal plants does not need to pay income tax on all of these activities for their first 5 years of operation. A young entrepreneur engaged in business that enjoys an initial 5-year concession benefits from the following applicable tax rates for an additional 5 years. Accra and Tema, 15%. Other regional capitals outside the 3 northern regions, 12.5%. Outside the other regional capitals, 10%. And if you find yourself in the 3 northern regions, it is 5%. You undoubtedly want clarity, more information. Reach out to the nearest GRA office, Ghana Revenue Authority, integrity, fairness, and service. Stay with us. When we return, more action on the AM show. Well, thanks for staying. Let's tell you a bit more about Queen Dafred Payroll Services Limited, the company specializing in payroll management, particularly in Ghana and West Africa. They have a team of qualified professionals who have years of experience in the Ghanaian and African market in payroll management, social security management, that is SNIT, and GRA payee taxes. I'm sure you want to know more. Stay with us. Frederick Otri is CEO of Queen Dafred Payroll Services, and Vida Bumpy is the general manager. That is Vida Pambi. I'm sure she would have taken my head off for that. Vida, Frederick, thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll start with you, Fred. Tell us a bit about Queen Dafred. I mean, how did this whole idea start, and what have you been up to, basically?
Actually, I'm an entrepreneur, and over the years, I spent some few years in the United States building businesses. So Queen Dafred is my wife and I put that together, and the number 6 company that we funded. So in the US, we funded 3 successful.
So are you venture capitalists?
I don't call myself like that. I'm a job creator.
Right.
I create employment, and that's what makes me happy. So I take credit for that. And my wife and I funded 3 companies, which is EduScare in the healthcare industry, Queen Coco Driving School in the transportation industry. We also funded Alice and Coco Logistics in the logistics business, where we are the first Ghanaian in the state of Ohio to sign contract with Amazon to deliver their product across the state of Ohio. So that's a big one. And then we also came to Ghana and said, hey, if we can do it outside, why don't we do it at home? So we decided to fund Queen Dafred Payroll Services and Builders of Africa Limited, which we have put a factory together here in Ghana to produce wheelbarrows. We're going to manufacture wheelbarrows to stop the importation of wheelbarrow here in Ghana. And Alice and Cocoa Groceries is where we decided people coming from the United States would think that, what if I need something that I used to have in the US, I should have that in Ghana. So we also have Alice and Cocoa Groceries here in Ghana.
So that's quite a lot. That's quite a mix you have in there. But let's focus on Quindafred.
Yes.
What are the benefits, Vida, of using the Quindafred payroll service? I mean, how does it work, briefly?
So we have a software that is cloud-based. So the software automatically calculates your payee taxes and your SNET as well.
That is your pay as you earn.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, and then your GRA taxes. So there's no need to get an accountant to do the normal manual calculations for you anymore. You just need the software, and then you put in your basic, and then the software calculates everything automatically.
So it makes matters pretty simple. You don't have to go through the stress of calculating and all of that. You just key in your details and it works it out for you. What other details can you share with us about the payroll service, Quindafred?
One of the solutions this system is bringing to bear is that many a times I've gone to places where the owner of the business will have to go to the bank, withdraw huge sums of money and come and put it in envelopes to pay his workers. It's going to be a thing of the past if you hook up to Quindafred Payroll Services, because with a click of a button, every employee get paid into their bank account or your Momo account, whatever you have, if you provide that to your employer. So Quindafred Payroll Services is the solution to small business owners like me, because remember I told you about the number of businesses that I have, right? Some of these tools and resources are what makes it easier for us to be able to put resources together to move forward. So with Quindafred Payroll Services, we have affordable price, which every company, whether you have 2 employees or more, you can be signed up with Quindafred Payroll Services to use our service to do your payroll.
So it's that simple to use as well?
Very easy. And with our training, you can use it yourself. So you don't need to have someone who has a degree in accounting or all that, but it helps when you have someone who understands the principles of accounting to help you put it together. But that's why Quindafred Payroll Services, we are here to support that.
Okay, Vida, tell me, I'm sure with all of this, you're still facing some challenges. What are they?
Okay, so it's mostly known in the United States, the Western world, but back in Africa here, especially Ghana, there's not much. So people are really, it's very difficult to explain it to people and then educate them to understand it. Yeah.
Right. So those are some challenges.
Yeah.
But I guess teething problems, when you're entering any market, you will do your SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. I guess these are some of the weaknesses or threats, and you have to address them. But right before you go, any final words before you give us your location and how people can reach out to you? Final words?
So what I'm telling Ghana and West Africa is that we are in a time where Ghana, for instance, is moving digital. You can't do business without looking at some of these things. Because of this software, I can sit here and pay my employees. I employed over 150 people in the United States, and I can sit here and pay them all over. So if you want to do business in the 21st century, now that we are here, you need Quindafred Payroll Services, because we're going to take care of your GRA filings, right? Remember, when you process payroll, you need to file your returns every month and every year. And Quindafred Payroll Services has all these resources put together in this software for you.
Right. Let me come to you, Vida, as we wrap. So in terms of location, address, phone number, website, if any, how do people reach you?
Okay, so
I'm sure a lot of people are curious now that they're watching us. How do they get in touch?
Okay, so our website is www.quindafredpayrollservice.com.
www.quindafredpayrollservice.com.
Yes,
right.
And we are located at Agenda Soto.
In Soto?
Yes, okay. Agenda in Soto, yes.
And the phone number?
And the phone number 020-365-2734.
Please slow down on that so people can get it. Please
020-365-2764.
Right.
And our email is at info@qfpayroll.com.
payrollservice.com.
All right. Thank you so much, Fred. Thank you, Vida, for joining the conversation. And right before we wrap this conversation, happy birthday to Mauko Afajinu, Head of Marketing and Corporate Communications at Stanbic Bank. Also to Akusika Aye, Gracefield School. This is love from Roderick, I should say, and Olivia, your parents. Roderick and Olivia, your parents. That's how we draw the curtains on another installment of the AM show with me, Benjamin Akakpo. It's always a pleasure. Let's connect same time tomorrow. Don't you forget our major bulletins at 10 and at noon. Have a lovely day.